Author presents Back and Forth with NEVS and Sven, a program of writing rants and rebuttals.
Fact: more women read fiction than men. So if you love to write fiction, you better know that 70% of your audience out there are women, and they really have no interest in the 20th century point of view of Caucasian men. Fact: more consumers want to read their fiction from somebody who has an authentic voice. This means that if you're reading a lesbian love story, you want the author to be a lesbian. If you're reading about a drug addiction, you want that author to be an addict themselves or have walked that path. And if your protagonist is an African American, most likely it's going to sell better if the author is African American and has lived in that world. In the winter of 2018, the phenomenon of Black Panther exploded onto the scene, with director Ryan Coogler able to wrap African American issues that are contemporary today into a blockbuster extravaganza that appealed to a wide audience. The film exploded, and he did what no other director was able to do before, and that is nail all those issues head on without hammering you over the head, wrap it into an awesome action film that appealed to a massive audience. And if you think about authentic voices, I would take the hashtag #MeToo movement and put it into this argument as well, because in today's society, nobody wants to read the white man's version of sexual harassment against women. They want to hear it from women who've experienced it themselves. This climate means more opportunities for minority voices than ever before. And it also means that a guy like me is going to have to do my due diligence, like I always have done, do lots and lots of research and make sure that I nail the history of my characters, especially when it comes to characters that have experiences outside of my own. No beef with matching stories with voices who've had authentic experience to those stories, and I'm all for it. But I do have a problem with Sven capitulating to the idea that only people who have had experience can write about those experiences. Back in the 1990s, I was living paycheck to paycheck as a production assistant, and basically that means you're a set bitch for those of you who aren't industry savvy. So, you know what? Twice during this time, I tried to get a job with people that I usually get jobs with, and I was turned down because of my skin color. And I'll tell you what, it sucked. I hated being discriminated against. But you know what? I use that feeling in my writing anytime I have a character who's getting discriminated against, okay? So, real life scenario, and I applied it, okay? So, wake up. When it comes to fiction, all writers take their personal experience and make them universal. That's our job. If you're a good writer, you should be sympathetic, empathetic, and most of all, able to walk in someone else's shoes. As a science fiction writer, I take contemporary issues of race, gender, sexuality, psychology, and religion and examine them under a different light. Meaning, I take what we all experience today, but I place it in a safe and alien environment so the issues can be studied without all the political crap attached. I want the reader to view them from a universally human perspective. If a black lesbian wants to write about the Italian gangsters in the 1930s and her concept is cool, I say I want to read that book. I don't give a rat's who wrote it. What I do care about is that we start to be prejudiced against good writing just because the writer does not fit into the character molds that they've created for their stories. Then we are treading on some seriously flawed ground, and we're talking about prejudice taking on a whole new form. I'm not going to play victim like NEVS, but I will say that it's very important that you do your due diligence when you're breathing life into a character to make sure it has an authentic voice. But enough from us, let's hear from you. What's your opinion?
Do you think this is